Hello and welcome to a Smurd P video, and today we're looking at 4 of the House of X issue 4. I have this lovely variant cover that I have chosen from Forbidden Planet. Start looking at the story. Let me try and get my lighting right. Try and get it right. Right, so our story begins with Apocalypse and a band of ragtag mutants from Erekil that have arrived. Apocalypse is covered in blood, no mercy, as he goes to attack the cowards, machines that are killing Krakoa, that has not had substance in terms of mutant, drawing off mutants for the last several months since the Hellfire Gala, and, they all left, scattered to the winds, etc. So he gives Krakoa some of his lifeblood because he refused to let their home die. So this is written by Gerry Duggan. Lucas Werneck and Jeffro Morales is on the art. Brian Valenza is on the colors. VC's Travis Lanham on the letters. And Tom Miller and Jay Bowen on design. So Cyclops is almost done for and left to die on the moon or explode in the moon in what he calls the trap, which, it's Cyclops. He knew it was a trap, let's be honest. He's the ultimate strategist. Well, I feel like he knew it was a trap. He didn't know what the trap was. So, which Nimrod, of course, corrects him and manages to save him, etc. Xavier approaches Orchis with perhaps an offer that Nimrod and Omega Sentinel may be interested. And I was trying to read this, and basically Xavier's dream is Krakoa. That's it. It's not about the Earth to him. So, he says, I should have said, look, leave Krakoa alone. We won't interfere with what you do outside of here. And, leave us be, etc. And they talk about the Red Triangle, etc., and how some of his team have their free will, etc. And I was trying to understand what he says, but he's trying to say you'll be able to control them. No, he's saying that they will be able to reject me, etc. And Nimrod says you must have your favorites. So I think Xavier makes a choice about certain mutants surviving. I may be wrong in terms of the way that I'm looking at this, but that's what I think I understand happens. So Apocalypse goes back to the old Crucible days, and the way that Erekil are is around we need more blood, and for that to happen there needs to be deaths, etc. And it says who will step up for this, who will kill me for this to give, life, etc. So they start stepping up, and, well, Apocalypse starts killing, etc. Which I thought was interesting, because I felt like, what if they just all cut their hands and fed Krakoa like Krakoa had always been filled in? It also makes me think that when Krakoa, hopefully by the end of the series, is back to some sort of strength, Krakoa will feel perhaps the deaths and the vengeance and fight back in a different way, perhaps, than being maybe sort of the pacifist that Krakoa has sort of become. So they all start coming in. There's some bright lights pointing up from the sun, which we'll find out about in a minute. So there's a huge structure that is starting to focus on the Earth with rays of the sun. It's an extinction level Sentinel City, as we know. Some of the humans that have apparently left have the Red Triangle defense. So Xavier has teamed in there, and Xavier reaches out to Cyclops saying, can we talk, old friend? Which I do like, because, I think long ago Cyclops outgrew Xavier and became the man he was meant to become. So he doesn't, there was many moments which, one of my favorite eras during Decimation, after House of M, and all the way up to Age first or Revolution, where Cyclops was my favorite character in terms of what he did. But I also liked Xavier in these moments because you started to see how dark Xavier went. Don't get me wrong, there'd been dark times before in the comics. It's been going on for 61 years now. Is it 61? It was 60 years last year, so it must be 61 years this year. I just don't know when. So this sort of brought me back to that, them not agreeing with each other, etc. So he's made a deal, etc. And Cyclops says, you know what, we could have won the Hellfire thing if you, with your backroom. Don't get me wrong, maybe Cyclops, they haven't spoken, so he doesn't understand the what the consequences was around humans, etc. So Cyclops making life and death decisions. And he says he had hoped that he would understand. I'm not gonna lie, I still feel like maybe I need to read this again because the next bit sort of understood me. I think NASA are approaching Sentinel City. I think the intent is for them to try and destroy it. However, Xavier controls one of them, a warhead, and it blows up. And the other thing that I could see, you can see that there's a sword station here, but where's the other sword station? And I wasn't sure if they used that machine to blow up that, or whether it was just to blow it up in general, because maybe that would have stopped the Sentinel City from happening. The humans would have, but he's prevented that. And I think this is just a stalling tactic for Xavier. I think that's the idea. So anyway, Scott says we're going in. Quite simple. This is basically a suicide mission. It basically is. And Emma, you've got to go back to Earth, and she doesn't agree with it. But he says, no, if we don't come back, you need to face Xavier. So we're hopefully going to see an epic showdown between Xavier and Emma Frost, which I think, Xavier, even though Emma's come a long way, you still got to say Xavier is the more powerful telepath. So it will be interesting, this final issue coming up. I'm really excited for it. So deep breath, and they transport, sorry, I'm not going to do that. So we get this fight going back, and Apocalypse knows this is easier, but he's trying to remember how life should be treasured as well. And this creature says, if you see Rockside again, tell him from me, in his last wish, it was so good to be for a while, which I thought was interesting because maybe I've missed something in terms of this character. Is this character what Rockslide became after the X of Swords? I feel like that's correct, and maybe I'm wrong. But I don't think this character, unless he's in X-Men Red, which I'm a little bit behind, has been very active, etc. So they jump in with the sword thing into Sentinel City, which is fantastic. And we see Krakoa is coming alive, etc. There, the mutants are attacking Nimrod. There's not very many of them. I think it's Gambit, Rogue, Colossus, Gambit. I can't remember where Wolverine is at this point. I thought he was with them, but perhaps not. So it's a great move, and they've set back the destruction of Earth by instead of just suffering on for a few minutes, maybe even years. So they make a boast of it. We're going to make this world suffer now because you've done this, etc. And, he says, we've already won. Stop. You're frail. You're weak. You're all these things, etc. And Nightcrawler's jumping around, sabotaging efforts that are being repaired, etc. And it's great. However, there is a storm coming. A great storm. And he says, it's because we're near the sun. No, it's not coming because you're near the sun. It's coming from Earth. Storm goddess of the weather is coming in, and she is screaming, which they say you can't scream in space, but she's going to scream with vengeance across the galaxy. So this is great, and it's leading to a great final showdown. We've got the mutants, Storm, Cyclops fighting Nimrod and Omega Sentinel on their Sentinel City. I feel like I would have liked lots of Sentinels flying around that they're fighting, etc. But there's also not many mutants that I think it could be. They could perhaps make it a bit easier for them to be destroyed. We've got Xavier versus hopefully the White Queen, and we've got Apocalypse and Krakoa coming back to life. So it's all coming together in one final battle, which is Fall of the House of X5, which comes out in May, and I'm very excited. Also, I feel like, yeah, it's a good time for it to end and think fresh. But I also like Krakoa. I think I said this last video. I don't want it to go back completely, but I do like mutants on the run, and backs against the wall. I've always seemed to have enjoyed that. Perhaps, I love the school years, etc. But those are the moments that I feel like you get the best out of these characters, etc. And that's what mutants are. Mutants should be hated and feared and discriminated against, etc., whatever you want to call it. And that's what makes them them. So anyway, it's a great issue. I love the art. There was some great artwork in there. So if you like my video, please do, and my run-throughs, please support my channel by subscribing. Thank you for taking the time to watch. Thank you to those already subscribed to my channel. And as always, brace geekiness. Take care. Goodbye.